In the last month or two, I've been trying to study from some other artists and really focus on Samdoesarts, Rossdraws, and WLOP and try to understand their process and how they go from sketch to final illustration and painting. And today I wanted to share with you some of the valuable lessons that I learned from studying their art. And if you want to see the full analysis of all of these artists, I'll put a link in the descriptions to each of those videos. So let's talk about the 5 most important things that I've learned from analyzing their process and technique. The first one is the power of simplicity. This is very important in a way that a lot of times I used to try and think my sketch needs to be really perfect. I need to get my sketch to a place where it's readable. But the thing is, when I study all of these other artists, you see that because they know they're going to be painting and all the sketch and line art will disappear, or most of it will disappear, you don't need to spend too much time perfecting the sketch phase. And simplifying things and having things just implying what you need to do is enough, because as you go more and more into the next stages and adding color and putting the shapes, those sketch lines are just there to guide you. So I try to take that and add that into my workflow because I know how simplicity can save me time and get me going on into the next step. So the next valuable lesson is painting zoomed out. So I've noticed this is a common thing because when it comes down to it is that you want to use big brush strokes and use the big brush to just put in the big shapes first. And then as you do that, you establish the overall composition and the flow of the piece. And once you have a solid foundation, you start zooming in a little bit. And then you put in more of your brush strokes in by reducing the size a little bit. And you continue that and you zoom in just slightly more every single time. So always start zoomed out and paint as much as you can zoomed out, and then zoom in if you need to. And part of that is that when we post our artwork, a lot of these parts that we work on zoomed in are not really even visible when you're looking at the painting as a whole. So don't waste your time working too much on these small details zoomed in and work more zoomed out. Now, when you start working on your painting and putting in the colors, it's good to think of things in terms of light and shadow shapes, and you put in your colors based on that. So when, for example, you're trying to paint the nose, you don't really have to think too much about the anatomy of the nose, but more think about where these shapes are created by the light and shadow. For example, the bottom of the nose will create a shadow shape that you can just simplify by painting that shadow part. And then the bridge of the nose, for example, could have a highlighted part that you can just simplify and just draw the highlight. And by thinking of these shapes in terms of light and shadow, you'll be able to simplify your process and get a lot of the details done in that way. This one is very important, and I think a lot of beginner digital artists are always looking for custom brushes. What brush do you use? This question keeps coming up. What brush do you use? And really, a lot of these artists just use the simple round brush. They do most of their work with the simple round brush, the hard edge round brush, and then the soft airbrush. And using these 2 brushes alone, you can get most of your painting done. And a lot of these artists, towards the end, once their painting is almost complete, they may introduce some textured brushes to do specific things and add specific details. But other than that, you can get almost 90% of your painting done using just those 2 brushes. The last thing is the power of the curve adjustment tool and the color balance tool. Those tools are really helpful in changing the dynamic of your painting very fast and very quickly without the need to go and repaint. For example, even WLOP, he does this very unique technique that I never even thought of. He paints in grayscale, but then he uses the curve adjustment tool to add color to his painting. So this was something unique that I learned, and I'll be using it. Also, the color balance tool. You can just go in there and just add or change the colors or the tones of your highlights, your shadows, and your midtones to give your painting a new look, or just even push your painting to the next level. I've learned a lot by studying these artists and their techniques, but these were the 5 main ones that I wanted to share. And I'll continue to study other artists because I feel like they have spent a lot of time perfecting their technique. And by studying them, we will learn a lot of valuable lessons that will help us a lot of time in the future. If you find this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and let me know which one of these tips was most valuable to you. Don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next video.